Hi, so you asked what's an option for someone who has bought a house but does not want to live in there anymore? I do not want to sell it as it can be used as an asset. Well, quite frankly, what you're describing here is what majority of people who fell into buy to let and accidental landlordship has come about, including myself when I first started in the first year. Then I realized actually, this is something I could actually build a business around, and ultimately that is what it is. When you get to a point where you are owning hundreds of it, it is a business. It is no different to a corporation that we all know the names. For example, John Lewis, Lloyd's Bank, some of the other pension funds are coming in and buying lots and lots of properties. Even where I say people like BlackRock or companies like BlackRock and stuff. So it's no different to the ownership of it. Is still a business. You still have customers, which are the tenants, and your assets are the building itself that you're actually renting out to. So your question is, well, how would you do that if you've got a house already? So let's assume the assumption I want to make is you've bought it on your personal name, and you will need to either hold it on your personal name, depending on your tax situation. It might be too expensive to do that. So there's multiple ways of going about this, but I'm going to try and be as succinct as possible. So let's assume you bought it a few years ago. It's on your personal name. You want to hold on to it. You can convert the house that you bought on your personal name on a residential mortgage into a buy-to-let mortgage. Most lenders will allow you to do it. Some lenders won't, and then you just have to move that mortgage to a different lender that will allow you to have that property as a buy-to-let mortgage, which then you can actually rent out to individuals to be able to then move on to for you to onto another property. So that's how you can hold it. Now the challenge with that is if it's on your personal name and you are on a high taxpayer taxable income. The challenge is since 2017 you are no longer allowed to deduct 100% of the interest only part of the mortgage. You are taxed higher than what would have been the case before 2017. So you can then, depending on your, let's assume your structure is that way, you can also have an option of, depending on how long you've held the asset, if it's not long ago and your capital gains tax is not too big, you can then sell in effect that. The challenge is then you'll end up paying stamp duty again. But if you were building a business out of it and you think you're going to structure your company as you go on to buy more, potentially you could also look at the need of or your possibility of selling that house into a limited company. Why do that? Well, ultimately the limited company can is allowed to deduct the interest only part of their mortgage, 100% of that money off the gross rent before taxation is due. Whereas if you hold it on your personal name, you are only allowed to deduct it at your marginal rate. So it's about 20% of so you end up paying a lot more tax if you are a higher taxpayer. So just to summarize, you can do it, and yes, it is an asset, and yes, it will grow in value, and yes, you will make, relatively speaking, a passive income. Depending, I have no idea how much you paid, where it is in the country, but let's just say you bought a reasonable house at the market rate, and you can get market rent for it. On average, by the time you put it on an interest-only mortgage, fixed for 5 years, say at 5%, 5.5%, you'll probably look around £300 to £400 per month of passive income that you'll generate. It's not the greatest amount of money given the situation at the moment and the amount of money you probably put down as a deposit, but that's why I obviously choose to do title split as a strategy, where I'm buying multi-unit whole blocks and then buying 10 units at a time rather than one at a time. But your situation is different, and I hope that gives you a bit more information. But if you give me a bit more detail of your situation, I might be able to help a bit more. Thanks.